COVID-19 has now taken over 500,000 American lives. Each of these people mattered, and the actions all of you have been taking to flatten the curve and stop the spread have saved countless thousands of other lives. Compounding the loss of these lives is the fact that we have not been able to gather together. As we begin, I humbly bring you stories from a few of those who we lost in the past year. I extend my gratitude to the members who reached out to share these stories. Lynn Miller of Sullivan County, Bossies, sent us a memory of her aunt, Ann Smith. In Lynn's words, she was so quick with stories about the family and read books and the newspaper every day. She never learned to drive, but in good weather she walked anywhere she wanted to go in her small town. Aunt Ann was just like her mother as far as knowing all the latest news and gossip going around town. During the last 10 years, Lynn would visit her and they would travel to various cemetery plots in central Pennsylvania to search through their family genealogy. She liked finding other relatives she didn't know about or only had a memory of their name. To her, it was like finding pieces to a jigsaw puzzle. She loved getting out and sharing the family stories with Lynn, who has felt lost without her. Ann Smith, age 91. And others also shared the memory of Dorothy Zarowski, a librarian at Goshen Central Library. Dorothy was an artist, an avid gardener, and enjoyed music and traveling. Lynn remembers that she was an art teacher first, and then she went and got her library degree. She was creative and spent time with her kids, and grandkids and the young children loved her. Her family remembers that Dorothy continued to find time and space for art throughout her life and in her work. In recent years, she found joy in her rediscovered love of travel, visiting Peru, Ireland, Vermont, and New Orleans. She indulged her love of music and met many friends by volunteering during concerts at Bethel Woods Center for the Arts. She loved reading, gardening, baking, and was always looking to help people. She died in March 2020, and afterwards, Dorothy's colleagues set up a drive to create a collection in her memory at Scotchtown Elementary School in Goshen. If you would like to contribute to this collection as well, I will put a link up on our website. Dorothy Zawarski, 1963 to 2020. Mary Jo Russell of Vassar Brothers Medical Center would like to remember her parents, both of whom died this year. Her father, Bob, was a design engineer for GE and home repair expert. Her mother, Doris, was an interior decorator and town historian. They were survived by their daughter, Mary Jo, and son, John Patton. They were married for a remarkable 57 years and were a devoted couple, amazing parents, and much loved by family and friends. They are very missed. Bob Patton, 1943 to 2020. Doris Patton, 1943 to 2020. Three memorials come to us from Lisa Hewell of Josephine Louise Public Library. Lawrence Farrell was her nephew's father. He was from Farmingdale, New York, and died on April 4, 2020, early on in the pandemic. He was 81. He was the beloved husband of Patricia and loving father of Mark, the late David, Christian, Julian, and Luke, and brother of Edward and Francis. He had 11 grandchildren who cherished him. He was a very loving man, and his family was a reflection of his love and devotion to them. Lawrence Farrell, age 81. Marietta Cortez of Middletown, New York, was a lifelong family friend. She was retired from the city of Middletown as a stenographer in the office of the Commissioner for Public Works. Marietta was a loving and devoted mom to her children, as well as a wonderful and doting grandmother to her grandchildren. Marietta was a die-hard Yankees fan and especially loved watching Derek Jeter. The other love of her life was Frank Sinatra, whom she would listen to for hours. She was the widow of Nicholas Cortez and mother of Nicholas, Ruth Ann, Paul, and Stephen, as well as grandmother of 8 and great-grandmother of 3. Marietta Cortez, age 94. Robert Wilson Russell Jr. of Rhinebeck was the brother of Lisa's best friend's partner. He died April 5, 2020. Robert worked for the Ulster County Public Works for many years, from which he retired. He went to Columbia Green College for art. He loved sitting outside, drawing, or just collecting things and making artwork out of it. He used to say, "Another man's trash is someone's treasures." He loved being around family, and most of all, he loved having family gathering. He is survived by 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and 10 great-grandchildren. He had 17 siblings, including foster siblings. Robert Wilson Russell Jr., age 70. Grace Zimmerman sent in memories of Elizabeth Toro, a woman she called Bunny. Grace considered Bunny to be her other mother. She was born on Easter Sunday in Bluefield, West Virginia. Grace says, "I don't know if it was serendipitous or a higher order at work. I choose to think the latter, but Bunny passed away in Miami on Ash Wednesday of last year." With a nod to her Southern heritage, Bunny specified a large memorial luncheon to be held to celebrate her life. It was to be on her birthday, March 21st. Needless to say, the memorial luncheon never happened. However, to honor Bunny's wishes during the dawn of the COVID-19 pandemic, her stepdaughters met via Skype to have, as she would say, a toddy for the body, in celebration of a life well lived and a person well loved. All who knew her remember her for her gracious manner, kindness, she read books to the blind, among other things, and vast collection of fragrances and perfume bottles collected through her world journeys as a travel agent. Grace sent in the photo with the explanation that Bunny and her mom were quite the party animals. Elizabeth Bunny Toro, age 94. Liz Gurdon of Southeastern sent in her memory of Bob Agnes, her best friend Dawn's stepfather, who spent the last months of his life quarantined in Copake Lake with his family. He was larger than life. At the age of 80 years young in 2018, Bob rode his Harley-Davidson on a solo ride through the 48 continental states, going to each state capital to show support and give awareness to the needs of our veterans by raising money for Fisher House Foundation, which builds homes where military and veterans' families can stay free of charge while a loved one is in the hospital. He was planning a similar ride in 2021 that he never got to take. Bob and his wife drove to Florida in the beginning of December to spend the holidays there. Dawn and her son flew down a couple of days later to be with them since she was furloughed from her job. The day after they arrived, Bob and her mom were both diagnosed with COVID-19. Dawn took care of them until their symptoms started to worsen, and they were both admitted to the hospital in the middle of December. Her mom was released from the hospital with portable oxygen after 2 weeks. Bob had started showing signs of improvement, but he had underlying lung issues that were discovered while he was in the hospital, and he was never well enough to be released. His health declined sharply on January 8th. Dawn rushed to the hospital to be with him since her mother was still testing positive for COVID and couldn't go to the hospital. He passed away a few hours later. Liz says that the most difficult part of Bob's passing is the fact that there was no memorial service due to the pandemic. She was unable to see her best friend and her family, much less hug them and try to comfort them due to their loss. It's kind of surreal knowing that there are millions of Americans going through the same thing. And that is the story of Bob Agnes, age 82. Thank you to everyone who shared these stories. Let us not forget our loved ones as we grieve for everything we have lost. We will take a short break now to recollect, and our program will begin at 10:30.